Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Elise. I am the founder of the All Black Creators Foundation and the host of the ABC Studios podcast. Today, in the studio with me, I have Raven Irabor. Raven is an image maker, a director, a curator based between New York City and LA. And her work celebrates the beauty, the complexity, and the imagination of the African diaspora. I'm so excited to have her here with me in the studio because most recently, she actually worked on a project that we were able to share through all Black creatives, and is now working on another project called She Island, which is very close to my heart as well. And I'm going to bring her up on stage to just kind of introduce herself as well. As we talk about living a creative life. We talk about our creative jobs and discovering curiosity. I'm excited. This is going to be a really fun chat. And hello, Raven.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I know I did like a small little intro, but I would love if you kind of told people more about yourself as well. And I know you're currently in Trinidad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous. But yeah, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, a little bit about me. As you mentioned, my name is Raven Irabor. I'm from the Bronx, New York. And I work between New York and Los Angeles. I lived in LA for 6 years, so it's like my second home. And I consider myself a Pan-African image maker and a curator, meaning that my work as an artist is really rooted in the ethos of Pan-Africanism. I care about supporting creatives and artists of the diaspora, and reclaiming and pushing forward new imaginations of the African diaspora. And this is primarily due to the fact that I am first gen American. My mom's from Trinidad, hence why I'm here, and my dad's from
Hey.
Nigeria. I grew up in a very multicultural household, and New York, specifically the Bronx, is also just like super, super multicultural. So I really understood and saw what the diaspora looked like from a young age without really having the language for that. So that directly informed just my interest and understanding and love for just finding the nuances. Um, and the similarities and differences throughout the diaspora and creating work
Mhm.
that's for us to understand us and see us. So, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think it's so funny because when we first connected, I did not know that your mom was also from Trinidad, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, so it's fun to connect on that, like both
Yeah.
having moms from Trinidad and just kind of, yeah, growing up in a multicultural way that just was, like that just existed as part of our identity in childhood, and I think that that's just something that gives a completely different
Oh, it's breaking up.
um, approach and perspective. We can each other but can't see each other.
It's breaking up. Can you say that last part again?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, it's just like a little delay, but it could be, again, I'm in Trinidad, the internet's not as strong. So it could be that.
No, we're okay. We're good.
Okay.
And, we can always mess with the recording afterwards, so don't worry.
Okay, cool, cool.
I was just saying that having a already multicultural perspective, it's really cool just the way that that can inform the creative process because it's just intrinsically part of who we are, and so it becomes part of how we
Yeah.
create.
Yeah, that's true. It's not something that like you have to forcefully think about. I think,
Mhm.
the only, you know, s- you can grow up in a multicultural household and that may not be intentionally part of your work, but it's going to be like some undertones there. I think what's
Mhm.
interesting or maybe impactful in my work is that it's very intentional, bringing like multicultural stories, learning about different cultures around the diaspora, and just like honoring that. But I think, yeah, like regardless if it's intentional or not, it's something that's gonna like seep in through your work no matter what.
Yeah, it's in there. And I think even though it might not have to be something that we're intentionally thinking about, the fact that it's there just adds, like, another layer of depth and, like, richness, I feel like. Um
Yeah. And it makes your work yours, it's like no one can take
Mhm.
that away from you. No one can, like, duplicate it. Each creative has their own unique perspective, and that multicultural upbringing adds to that unique perspective.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that so much. Um, so I wanna talk about why you're in Trinidad right now and what you're working on, if you wanna tell people a little bit about that project.
Yeah, for sure. So I shot my film, She Island in Trinidad, which feels like forever ago. We shot it in 2023, but we are now circulating the festival circuit. So our first festival was actually here in Trinidad. So we did our world premiere in Trinidad this past summer at the Caribbean Film Festival, and then we've gotten into different screenings in this different festivals since then. So it's been just a great honor to see how that film has continued to just flow and flourish and touch different audiences. Like we got into a screening in Paris, which was like so random, but also just like just again, just like the how far the Caribbean diaspora is. It's all over the world. And so it's nice to see that like no matter where you are, um, finding a community within art so that you can feel seen, heard, even though you're outside of like your island. So yeah, it's been nice to see how far the film has gone thus far. And just like the things that we have planned for it in the
Mhm.
next year, 2026.
Yes. So when you decided to make this film, and I know you're later gonna kind of walk us through the backstory and more of how you did that, but I would love to know, like, when you decided, "Yeah, I have a story that I wanna tell, and this is how I wanna do it."
Yeah, so the idea of doing a film around Caribbean womanhood came in 2021. So again, this project has been a long time coming. Came in 2021. Just had just like an inkling that this is what I wanted to do. And when I was in college, I was in a Caribbean dance team called
Mm.
Calabash, and it was predominantly women. We did have some guys, but it was predominantly women on the dance team. And college is such a formative time of your life where you're like coming to your own as a person and as a woman. So to have that dance team as kind of like my foundation as I was developing my womanhood and just like as I got older, realizing like again, my mom's the one from Trinidad, my dad's from Nigeria, and it just so happens to be my dad's side is predominantly male and my mom's side is
Mm.
predominantly, female. So even like that
Interesting.
understanding of like womanhood is directly in oh, did we lose you?
Nope, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, my understanding of my womanhood is also just directly in relation to like my upbringing because I was around a lot of Caribbean women. So whether that was like my dance team or just like my family, whatever I was having, my mom's friends.
Mm.
So was really trying to understand like my own womanhood and where the roots come for that, especially again
Mhm.
because of that foundation. So that's kind of like 2021. That's like the initial thinking. And then I came to Trinidad, I think, like around Christmas time, either 2022 or 2023, and like just started doing research about different like Caribbean folklores.
Was that your first time, or do you often go to Trinidad?
I often go to Trinidad. I usually go around like
Okay.
Christmas time. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But at that point I was here for like a month. So it was like my
Mhm.
first like long stay. Now I stay about 3 to 6 weeks when I come. But like that was the first
Okay.
time I stayed for like um a longer period of time.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, so just doing the research. And I also went to my grandma's church for the first time, and she's a spiritual Baptist, and that's a denomination of Christianity that was like founded in Trinidad. And it has a lot of like um practices that are like rooted in African spirituality. So a lot of
Mhm.
people can sometimes like turn their eye to it when it may not seem like Eurocentric Christian. Um,
Mhm.
it's more, I think, aligned with like Santeria, like that you see
Uh-huh.
practiced in like Puerto Rico or Cuba. Um,
Uh-huh.
But yes, I went to her church for the first time and just saw again, because my dad's Nigerian, saw some of like the interesting practices that the way that they like belted out and like even the decor of the space and this like call and response action felt very reminiscent to like a Nigerian church. So just like all of those experiences and that like visual research, just observing around me and just following my grandma around
Mhm.
Trinidad, um, helped me kind of
Oh,
root what
that's
I wanted.
amazing.
Yeah, what I wanted to be
That's
about.
amazing.
Yeah. So
Mm.
then we got into scripting and like we actually developed like what the like arc would be. Because this is my
Mhm,
first time actually going into a film that is more narrative. I'm more of like a conceptual
mhm,
artist and experimental filmmaker. So this
mhm,
was like my foray into narrative in a way that still felt
mhm,
authentic to like my conceptual and experimental like creative process. So
mhm.
yeah, like from developing the concept, doing the research, then decided to figure out what that actual narrative arc would be. And that's
Yeah.
how we, got started with that.
Wow. I think that's such a blessing, like, that your grandmother was there and, like, walked you through these stories and was able to kind of take you through the living history of I don't know, I'm jealous. Um, I'm jealous because mostly because my grandmother is not with me now, um, and her resting place is in Trinidad, but there's just, like, something very, there's just something beautiful about being able to be walked through your history by the elders in your life.
Yeah.
Um, I find that really beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely hold a high regard to like the elder, the people who've been doing this work. Like even when
Mhm,
um we developed the script and then there's like a second round of research now that we know like what the story is, what the folklore is. And
mhm,
I reached out to some like art curators that were based in Trinidad, some like academics, professors, and they connected me with a woman who actually I think during carnival like plays the character during mass and like she gave me like a deep dive like she's one of, I guess, the few people that plays this character, and she just, like we're just talking about how she embodies that spirit, and sometimes it's really heavy for her. Just, like, really understanding, like, the groundwork and the root work, so, yeah, I definitely feel like it's just when you're doing this type of, culture research, like, talking to the elders, it's, like, super, super important.
mhm.
Just, like, the people who, like, really, really do the work, live this life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to kinda share your visuals, I think that would be really
Yeah.
cool to see.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll kind of tee it up.
Wait, is this oh gosh. Not me pressing every single button. Is this okay? I don't know if you can
Yeah.
alright, I hear it. Okay.
Yes.
That's better.
Yeah, I will tee this up. I'm really excited to be able to kind of talk through some of my process. And I'm hoping that this, like, for your audience, like, inspires some people, provide some like information on just like how to put together a film,
Mhm,
especially a film shot in a foreign country. There were some
mhm,
like production logistics that I can like talk through of like that process. But yeah, I just hope this, blesses people and people are inspired by this. So let's get into it.
mhm.
So the agenda things I'll just go over just like who am I, just so people can like understand why I guess I'm like qualified, so to speak, to like share this and talk about this. Um,
Mhm,
what is She Island? My creative process, some examples, and then what comes after the film.
mhm,
So just quickly about me, as mentioned, I'm a Pan-African image maker and curator based between New York and LA. And my work is informed by my passion for art, culture, fashion, film, and media. I have over 10 years working in the media and advertising industry as a producer and creative director. And just like growing up in New York, just have always loved fashion, worked in the fashion industry. So fashion tends to be like a really big part, as well as movement. I grew up as a dancer, so a lot of my work has a lot of movement in it. So fashion, costume movement, and like surrealism, just like Black speculative theory and imagination is a really poignant part of my work, from a visual perspective. And then just some of the places that I've achieved recognition, just like Los Angeles Film Festival, New Media, Local K, Gen Z, Miami Web Fest, many more, and just was the also the youngest judge for the inaugural Fashion Film Fest in Phoenix, Arizona. So just a little bit
Congrats.
about me.
That's very cool. I love that.
Thank you. Um, And so this is the log line of the film She Island, in the heart of the Caribbean. A mother and daughter confront a malevolent curse, erasing identities of all the island's women, propelling them on a daring quest to reclaim their rich and cultural heritage and triumph over the encroaching darkness. So I will play this trailer. I hope is it showing? Do you see it? Or are you still seeing? Oh, hold on. Let me try this.
Okay.
Okay, it's like a minute long. Do you hear it, by the way, or do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Somewhere in the unknown, in the in between, you go find larger bless and she girls dancing among the stars. She moved closer and closer until everything just stopped. Sharing way, return to what preserves. Teaching way, return to what holds. Return to what honors you. You will find me. You will find yourself.
Okay. So that is our official trailer. And that'll help kind of like as I go through some of these slides for you to understand like the creative, how we got to where we got, and just have a comparison point to what I'm gonna be showcasing. So just going through my process, as I mentioned, I'm a conceptual filmmaker, so like narrative and storyline does not come first for me. And usually it's like I won't say like the last thing I care about, but it's definitely I'm more of a visual artist. So I have like a lot more thought when it comes to like the visuals, whether it's the wardrobe, the lighting, the camera movement, things of that nature, and always figure out how like the storyline kind of supports whatever um the visuals that I'm trying to display. So usually I have a top level idea, which is just like the overall concept. And from there, go into research. I am like a big research person, and this film really, really showed me even more the value of research because again, I started this idea in 2021. So there was like multiple years of like gathering new information. And even in post production, the original film was 20 minutes long, the final film is 16 minutes long. And even to go from 20 to 16, just like realizing like some of the people that I came in contact with and directors and artists that I came into contact with as we were doing that editing process, like, learning from them aided into, like, the betterment of the film, so I feel like even just, like, day-to-day life conversations that you have are, like, part of, like, your research canon, and it's not always just, like obviously, you should, like, read and go online and, do, like, physical research like that, but I even feel like day-to-day conversations and the people that you come in contact with add to your research and help with, fine-tuning and shaping your film, so that is, like, a big part of yeah, so that was a big is and continues to be a big part of, like, my creative practice. Then getting into the visual references or storyline, so depending on the type of project it is, either doing both simultaneously or one before the other, but again, I'm a very visual person, so I usually spend a lot of time developing a mood board and multiple mood boards. There's usually a mood board for, like, the overall film, then there's mood boards per, like, maybe each, section or scene of the film. Then even getting granular to like mood board for the makeup, mood board for the hair, mood board for the wardrobe. Like I am very like hands on when it comes to like what I want every aspect of the visual to look like. From there, from all the different mood boards, and I make a treatment. So the treatment is like what I would use to really flesh out and refine the concepts. And I also use that document to be able to onboard the team because for me, it's like I want to be able to communicate to people what I'm trying to do and having a well organized and beautifully done visual treatment is going to help
Mhm.
people understand what you're trying to do and also get excited to want to come on and support the project that you're creating.
Do you
And then from
mood
there,
board physically? Oh, my bad. I'm just curious.
um,
Do you mood board
so
physically or is it fully digitally for you?
that's a really great question. So I also love collage art and I
Mhm.
that is something that as I grow into my creative practice and like
Mhm.
expand as an artist, want to put out there more publicly because mood boarding and collage art in my mind operate similarly.
Oh, yeah.
So I do have some collage art that I physically have done um
Mhm.
in my like home and just like as in in my space, but I
Yeah.
have not done it for a specific project and I would like to. I
Uh-huh.
haven't done like physical mood boarding for a project. But that'll be something that'll be cool to like just explore and see how that like
Yeah.
impacts the creativeness and the end result. But
Yeah.
yeah, collage art is something that like I want to like another medium that I want to like publicize and share with the world.
Mhm. Mhm. It makes sense because it's if it's part of your personal practice of, like, discovery and bringing things together, it makes sense that it'd be like, "Huh, that could be cool to, like, play with that for something like this," that's gonna be fully digital in that way. That's cool. We'll continue.
Exactly. And then even again, interesting that you asked that in the film there is a collage moment um that I made myself. So yeah,
Ah,
I yeah, love collage. Love it.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
Um And then, yeah, decks for everything. So, like, not only is the decks beneficial for yourself to help you get organized, but again, as you're onboarding your different team members. So, like, what is
Mhm.
like in the media and advertising world, we have like briefs that we like when we're like trying to brief like a production company or creative studio director, you create a brief. So that's similarly how I kind of operated for this film. Is
Mhm.
like my stylist, they need a brief to understand what my intention is for wardrobe and costume design. Same thing for my writers. Like I put together a writing brief and was like, these are the characters, these are what they're supposed to sound, these are the references. Same thing for like the cinematographer. So a deck for everything, and it also helps you reference things because when you get into edit, like when you shoot and things are, you know, whether it's a couple months later when you're in the post-production process, it's helpful to have this repertoire of things that you reference
Yeah.
so that you know why you made certain decisions. Like, I remember
Mm.
with Ryan Coogler, and he was like when I think it was for Sinners, and he was like, months later, it was like, couldn't remember why he made a decision, but if you have, again, having these
Ooh.
treatments, having these documents, you can refer and be like, "Okay, I made this decision for this reason, so this is why I want this edit to look like this, or this is why we started off with this
Yeah.
shot because it's supposed to symbolize this."
And
So
that's
yeah,
why things can be so smoothly tied in, even those, like, things that are so layered, and it's like, you see the continuity of something, and it's literally because they have stuck to the decisions that were made, like, earlier on to
exactly.
kind of weave the tale. Makes so much sense.
Yeah, and I think, like, as a leader, like, with filmmaking is like the most collaborative medium,
Mhm.
and when you're a director or a producer, like people are looking to you for like your decisions, and you want to be able to guide your team accordingly. So the more organized
Mhm.
you are, and the more that you can make a decision, the better. So that's why also again these decks are helpful so that you know like okay, actually this was the goal, this was the intention, and even if you pivot, you're pivoting based off of like information, not because like you're gonna have so many voices, you're gonna have so many people giving opinions, so you wanna make sure that you're so grounded in, like, your intention as a leader and as you're, like, giving feedback and direction and delegating to, like, your different team members.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, we'll get into the treatments, some of the things that I put on the treatment side. Again, this is a very consolidated deck of all the different decks that I've made, but just so that, the audience gets an idea of, like, how they can organize, their concepts when they're putting together a treatment, whether it is for video or photo, because this also,
Mm.
transcends within the photography space as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So inspiration. So for me, I love GIFs, however you say it. Like even at my job, I think I've infiltrated my like daytime job for everyone to use GIFs because it just best communicates what you're trying to do. Um, especially in for video, like whether it's camera movement or just like tonality or something or just energy. It just I think GIFs add just a lot to a deck. So I highly recommend GIFs.
Yeah.
Um, but for this film, this is the first time I really based it on having like these three different films or reference points as inspiration. And I encourage everyone who worked on this film to watch these three films because for you to understand what I'm trying to do, you need to know the foundation. And these three films are the foundation of what I was trying to create. Um,
Wow.
so Black is King by Beyonce,
Mhm.
that film from a structural level is very similar to what we ended up doing. So having this like ominous guardian character, the like green man and Beyonce are this guardian character that's guiding Simba throughout the
Mhm.
story. Similarly, in this film, we have Logic Bless who's got this guardian character that's guiding this mother and daughter throughout the film. So you have
Mhm.
some fantastical visuals. It's a fashion film and a music video in this film. She Island is kind of a genre bending film. It feels like it's very music based, so it's edited almost like a music video in some ways.
Uh-huh.
It has a lot of fashion elements, so it is genre bending like Black is King. Dance
Mhm.
and movement, similarly in Black is King, kind of tells the story and moves the story along. There's not really moments of like much dialogue. Similarly in my
Uh-huh.
film, then there's like a retelling of a popular story. So in Black is King, it's like Lion King. In this case, we're retelling the Elijah Bless story and just elements of like of Afro surrealism and that film being predominantly like having a voiceover narration.
Mhm.
Black Orpheus is one of my favorite films. It's a Brazilian film. It has like this mystical ominous character. It's a retelling of a folklore as well. We see this merging of African and European culture that exists in Brazil, especially with that bottom shift. They're having this like church um like service and you see like the black Jesus, but you also see European angels. So it has this like mix of like European spirituality and Yoruba spirituality and Catholicism. We see like this carnival and carnival culture because this film is predominantly around the carnival season that happens in Brazil, and then lots of magical realism, which is like magical realism is I guess a visual trope that I use a lot in
Uh-huh.
my work, and it's seen a lot in She Island specifically. I feel like I've, like, really gotten to my bag with She Island on, like, what I wanna do with
Yeah.
magical realism and Afro surrealism, and then Dance Hall Queen really is, to me, like, a, like, woman gender studies film
Mhm.
for the Caribbean. Like it's a feminist manifesto. We see liberation of a Caribbean woman, specifically a Jamaican woman, through dance and sexuality. And she utilizes gendered stereotypes to achieve revenge and liberation, which is the same exact thing that Logic Bless does as her
Mm.
folklore.
Mhm.
Um, again, these three films were the foundation and big inspiration and was the three films that I encouraged my team to watch in order to understand like what I'm trying to do and the messaging and the visuals and the cultural like nuances and things like that.
Mhm. I need to go back and watch these now.
Yes, 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 highly
Yeah. Yeah.
recommend. So visual style, this is a slide that I feel like is helpful overall for just like the different people on your team to understand like the feel that you're trying to and tone that you're trying to get overall.
Mm.
And then I like to like narrow it down again, like very specifically, whether it's per scene, or per segment, depending on how your film is structured, so that it's clear on like what applies to each scene or segment. But this just gives
Mm.
people an overall understanding of like what you're trying to achieve visually and tonally through,
Mhm.
your film.
I love the gifts,
Um,
really. They
See, I'm
are
telling
yeah, you're right. Because 'cause I'm like, yeah, I feel that. Like, I feel the motion of that happening. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So then as I mentioned, I get like pretty on my treatment got pretty granular on like the scenes. So I just
Mhm.
put some of the scene slides here. So the funeral scene in the film has a very ceremonial tone. So you see that with the references here. And then when we get into wardrobe, you'll see also some of these images here also impacted like what we decided to do for wardrobe and even like um from like a set design perspective, we did have like calabashes and flowers and just for it,
Mhm.
again to feel very ceremonial and authentic
Mhm.
to like I guess like the original like Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
Um s- uh scene 3 or chapter 3. We ended up chapterizing the film later on, but it's Shango Santeria. So this is the scene where they're in the church. So the tonality is very spiritual, very healing, because this is where um the mother and daughter heal in the film, and then it has holy chaos because a lot is happening. There's a lot of like the music adds to the chaos.
Holy
A lot of
chaos.
mood. Yeah,
I
that was
like that.
the yeah. It's like a lot is happening, but we're in this like holy space, and there's this like a revival happening. And I feel like when you go to a
Mm.
church and there's like when they have those like spiritual revivals, like you see people like getting like demons taken out of them,
Yeah.
but and yeah, it
Yep.
feels like holy chaos. The pastors
Mm.
throwing water at people, and people are screaming and dancing and praising. Like there's a lot
Yep.
happening, and it's chaotic,
Yeah.
but it's holy.
Yeah.
You know.
I got that.
So
That's
that.
such a good phrase. I'm out. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the vibe, the tone for
Mhm.
um chapter 3. And
Mhm.
then chapter 4 is the bushwoman scene. So this is the scene where we're really seeing them connected to the land, very nurturing. We see them mother, daughter, and like some of our dancers in the home. They're cleaning. And then the daughter returns back to the bush, or again returning back to the land. And yeah. And then, so as I mentioned, getting very granular. So from there to different slides for different department heads. So this
Mhm.
section, we're focusing on like the costume design um, portion of the film. So I've styled in the past, and I think like as a filmmaker, it's always helpful to like have different departments that she's kind of worked under, because then you know like what they need to get their job done. And it I think also gives you a like a unique perspective to like who you are as a director. So some directors are also editors. So the way that they direct is different because they also have an editor hat. Like I've had a
Yeah.
background in styling, I have a background in dance, I have a background in different
Mhm.
elements. So like that
Mhm.
impacts like how I like communicate to my team, and also like
Mhm.
again like the visual stuff. So for this, I knew that like for the stylist, they need to know all the characters. So he listed out each of the characters, how many characters it would be, and then like any sort of like key elements that are that define the character. So large of us in the folklore is always wearing white. So that's like we try to be
Yeah.
as true to the folklore as possible. Um, Usually have like a large hat, and their face is never fully exposed. The
Mhm.
character also has one hoof foot and one human foot that defines the character. So like in the folklore, like if a man comes across a large bless, he's able to tell that it is because of the one hoof foot.
The foot. Wow.
Um, and then Rita the Forgetting Tree is a character that we actually made up. So this character
Huh.
is inspired by the tree of forgetfulness in Ouida, Benin in West Africa. And that's during enslavement times, the enslaved Africans were forced to walk around this tree uh, depending on your gender, 6 or 9 times, I can't remember. And the idea was that before you came over to whether it was South America, North America, the Caribbean, you would forget your identity, your customs, who you were as an African before you came over to um, this
Wow.
new land. So we were inspired by that tree, and therefore that's the curse that's casted on the island. So the curse
Mhm.
causes the women on the island to forget themselves, to forget their identities, and it kind of questions what happens to Caribbean culture if women who are looking at as like the community gatekeepers and scribes and holders of the culture, what happens to Caribbean culture if the women forget who they are and forget their identities? So
Wow, wow,
that's
wow, wow,
how
wow.
that's how
Wow,
we
wow,
came up with this
wow.
character. So a lot of research. Again, the research adds to like the layers of like why we made these intentional choices.
Yeah.
So we had this character always wearing red, and it wasn't intentional
Mhm.
for it to be like red versus white. But when we had a screening, someone and like
Mm.
asked about that, like good versus evil, red and white. It just
Interesting.
certain things happen naturally. So that was one of the things that like
Wow.
um
That's one of my
was
favorite
like
things about
yeah.
film, and people are like, "What do you think that visual meant?"
Yeah.
I heard people, like, really get into it and have their different schools of
Yeah.
thought and like, "Well, this feels like it was representing this other thing," and yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have a good film. You got people's
Yeah.
wheels spinning, and they're like, "I can see this, I can see that." Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. Um, so then I put like world rules so that again, we know what's I think for myself, I'm like a world building artist. So like understanding like
Mm.
what are the rules within this world so that we make sure that we don't break them and that they make sense for this world. Even though they may not make sense for like the real world, but they make sense for this world
Yeah.
that we're developing. So I'll have that kind of listed out here. And then again, I'm very specific. This is not remotely necessary to vote this piece on color palette, but created a color palette that was based off of the like on the mood board slides or like the treatment
Mhm,
slides. Created this
mhm,
color palette so that the costume designer, when they're creating the costumes, knows these are the colors that make sense for the scene, so that each
mhm.
chapter, each scene has its own color theory.
Mm.
So you kind of see how the color palette shows up here a little bit. So this is like the mood board and the costume inspo for that scene that has this
Yeah.
again holy chaos that we were
Mhm,
talking about earlier, and then the list of characters that will be in that scene, so that the stylist and the costume designer knows the amount of people that they need to dress for.
yeah.
Um, and we shot this in my grandma's church, and these 3 images, and I think even this image at the top here specifically is what the
Wow.
spiritual Baptist faith actually wears. Like, the women
Really?
have to keep their head wrapped, they get these dresses specifically made, so wanting to keep it authentic, but also adding, like, our own, like, specific flair to it.
Yeah, I love that.
So storyboard. So the storyboard, I think, is wanna be one of your most important things to make, like, even if you don't get as granular, but the wardrobe side and color palette, the
Mm,
storyboard is really, really important because it communicates to your director, your producers, like,
mhm,
your cinematographer, your editor, if you're doing VFX, your VFX artist, like, what the order of shots are supposed to be and what the
mhm,
story arc is supposed to be. So you'll see here, like, we at this point, we have the script, like, certain lines and going along with certain images so that we know what is exactly supposed to happen.
mm,
So you'll see, like, if you see the final film, you'll see kind of like where we reference certain shots, and how the
mhm,
art came to be. I really wanted
mhm,
to share with you all the VFX shot examples because if you are doing VFX is a lot. It's like pretty complicated. So it was really helpful to have your VFX artist on board before you even shoot so that they tell you how you should shoot that shot for VFX. Um, so
yeah.
each of the shots that are labeled VFX is so that our team knows, okay, we need to shoot this a specific way because this is going to be utilized in post as a VFX shot. Um,
That makes so much sense. Did you learn that the easy way or the hard way? Like, did
um,
you know this coming into it, or did you have a moment where you were like, "I shot
I
that,
knew
and
a
look at you
little
that."
bit. Yeah, so I knew a little bit of like, okay, we need to I know I wanted to have VFX and I think
Mhm,
again, this like natural research, I just so happened to have gone to um I took like a virtual VFX directing class around this time
oh, cool.
by this Black woman and like she also was helpful in me realizing like how nuanced I needed to be with or like specific I need
Oh,
to be with
yeah,
these VFX shots. So
yeah.
um, yeah, timing, because even, like, sometimes it feels like with film, like, you wanna get through it faster, but it's like everything worked
Mhm.
out in its timing. Because if I didn't take that class, there's certain things that, like, I literally just would not have known to prepare me for the
Wow,
film. Um,
beautiful.
so then just, like, some other examples, like, where we had some VFX shots. So, like, this
Mhm.
shot in particular, is from Get Out when they're in the, like what's that
Oh,
world?
the sunken place.
The sunken place, exactly.
Yeah.
And so when we in the film, you see that, like, the grandmother's floating into, the in-between, and Laja Bless and her girls are
Mhm,
in this window that was inspired by the
mhm.
sunken place, so we kind of looked at that, how they shot
Wow.
that, and knew that would have been, like, a really heavy VFX shot.
Yep. I love that scene, by the way, too.
Thing yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
wait,
was just
from
like a
from
frozen moment from you nah, from
yeah.
yours. Like, I
Oh,
feel like the way you translated that was really beautiful. Like, it was just that
thank you.
moment frozen in time, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, 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 and I think one of the things, again, going back to research, like, as a filmmaker, like,
Mhm.
just watching mad stuff, like, the reason that I have all these references is because it's like, I watched all of these things, and I also have a co-director, me and my best friend Sarah, we work together,
Mm.
on a lot of projects, so,
Mhm.
um, I think it's also helpful to have multiple brains because there's certain things that she brought in that, like, I didn't think of, um,
Yep.
but it's like you spend hours and days and weeks putting these references together because you have to first find all of these things, then put it on the deck, and just it takes a lot of time. So it requires again that level of like patience and research and just like watching, like keeping your eye out on things. I'm like, oh, this would be good for my film or whatever else have you.
Mm. That's really good advice for aspiring, like, filmmakers for real. Like, you gotta keep, kind of not necessarily going to just critique films, but yeah, to, like, learn, yes, to critically think about them, to kind of appreciate the references and, I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
inspiration.
Build your library.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay, so now that we saw like the storyboard where the VFX shots were added when we were
mhm,
shooting, then I made essentially this VFX brief for a VFX artist so that they have an understanding of like what so one thing I did have to learn with VFX is like being specific even about like materiality is really important because for example, in the Weta when Weta was like destroyed in the film, she gets set or they get set ablaze. And there's very different ways in which fire can be shown. So it was like very
yeah,
specific on like, you know, it's ember that's rising towards the top of Rita's body. It's not like they fully get set on fire and that the particles of the fire
mm,
are not like real life fire. It's like these like magical particles that have like magical materiality to it. Um, so that was something that I realized it's just getting very, very specific on not just like what we wanted the VFX shot to do, but even, like, the materials and
yeah,
even, like, when we the Lodge Blessed light, there's, like, a fairy light, and that's how Lodge Blessed communicates in the human or the real realm is through this light, so anytime you see it in the film, it symbolizes Lodge Blessed communicating in the real world. So
oh,
even the
that's so cool.
materiality of, like, that, like, light was, like, very, very specific on, like, how it trails and, like, how it waves in the scene and things like that.
Beautiful.
And then just like again, continuing on just like how the material of the fire particle
Mhm.
um goes out in this chapter. So those are just like as I mentioned, it's some of the decks and slides that I created to like communicate to the different team members on the film, keep myself organized, understand my references, and then also like when you're in the like festival stage or being able to talk to people about your film, like you have like all of this to be able to like remind yourself because by the time you get into all those things, it's like what inspired me again? What was I talking about? So that like when all right. So when you get to that point, it's like, okay, cool. This was the inspiration, this was the foundation, this was the concept. So that you can
Yeah.
talk about your film and in a way that you want your film to be represented when it's
Mhm.
done.
Mm. Mhm.
Okay, so your film was done. What do you want to do next? So I think for
Yeah.
when I was working on the film, this is my first time going into the festival like, the festival circuit in a real way. I've
Yeah.
submitted some, like, randomly to festivals, but really didn't understand
Mhm.
that there's a whole strategy, for the
Ugh.
festival circuit. I did
It sounds
I
like
did
a part-time job just to,
it
like just to figure that out because, oh my god.
it is a
Wow.
lot, and I will say that I'm grateful that I did have the means to be able to, like, pay for a film festival strategy class,
Okay,
um
yeah.
and so that helped me get all of this information because without it, I would really be going into it blind because it really is a strategy on how to like be successful in the film festival
Mhm.
circuit, depending on what your goals are. So that was one of the major things that they had us think about. What are our goals for the film? What are we trying to get out of the festival circuit? Because some people think make a film, I'm gonna go to the film festival circuit. And it's like that may not actually be the best strategy for your film if
Mhm.
that's not what you want, you know?
Yeah.
Because different film festivals also have different things. So there's like festivals that are great for distribution. There's festivals that has like a bunch of industry connects. There's festivals that give you money if you win an award. Some people,
Mhm.
want laurels to help like build up their like I guess reputation within the industry. So it really is understanding like
Yeah.
what your goals are for the film, what do you want from the film,
Mhm.
and one once you understand that, does the festival route even make sense based on what your goals are? And two,
Ooh.
then you can narrow down what festivals actually make sense for you to submit to because festivals aren't cheap. That's also something I wish I knew. Festivals, each festival costs like $50 on average. It could be
Uh-huh.
up to 75, up to 100, as low as 45.
Yeah. That adds
So
up.
you
That
don't want
sounds
to
like
just
if you're
be
gonna do it, you gotta make sure it's the right path for you and then know what you're doing before you get into it because that's a lot of just like that could be a lot of wasted energy if you're not prepared.
exactly. Exactly. So that's also why I have this other question, like, did you include festival submissions and materials in your budget? So when you're doing your production budget before you shoot, make sure that you like understand what your goal and your intention is for your
Mhm.
film that early on so that if you do want to submit to festivals, and if it makes sense for your strategy and makes sense for your goals, it's included into your budget. And like festival materials, because you also have to make like some festivals require a certain format of your film and you have to pay to get that made. So even when your film is
Mhm.
done, like there's a certain format for screening on like a theater screen, and that you would want to pay for that for it to get done correctly. Um
Mhm.
so just making sure that all those things are in your budget up front so that when you're done with your film, you're not like, I have no money left for the festival circuit. And then you're in a place
Oh,
that's going to like stress you out because it is,
yeah.
I've gone through a lot of stressful stuff.
You're like,
So
"I
just
did it so
be
you don't have to worry it that
exactly,
way." Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So once you get clarity on the above, you'll be able to decide what festivals make sense depending on your goals and your budget. So again, so let's say you're trying to do one of your biggest goals to get this film distributed on like a major streaming platform. There are festivals that have relationships with streaming platforms like ABFF, their short film category. Um, I don't know if it's going to change now with all the like the whole mergers that's being
Everybody
talked
bought
about.
everybody. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But there a deal with HBO Max. So if you win
Mhm.
that category and your film gets distributed on HBO Max. So it would
That's
be
huge,
better
yeah.
beneficial for you to only to submit to ABFF versus another film festival if that's your primary goal. Um,
Mhm.
so I recommend making a spreadsheet of all your festivals once you decide what your goal is, and then preparing your festival materials. So things that you would need is like a film trailer, a director's statement, a flyer, a credit, making sure you have like a credit list because you have to upload each of your credits on Film Freeway. And there's a bunch of other materials that you need. So, once the film is done, making sure that you have these materials ready, especially also, again, going back to budget, make sure that you budget for your trailer. Don't just budget to edit the film. Make sure your trailer is within that budget because you're going to need it for the festivals. Like some festivals don't even accept your submission without a trailer.
Yeah.
So going back to what your goal is, if your goal is not the festival circuit, maybe you don't need a trailer. But if it is,
Mhm.
make sure that's in your budget.
Love,
um,
love.
And then a pro tip that I did know, I was like, maybe it's not that serious. It is serious because it
Mm.
cost me a lot of money
Oof.
by not taking it this seriously. So my original film was 20 minutes long, and we did go through the festival circuit, and we didn't get into any festivals. So again, the budget,
Wow.
I spent all that money it's submitting to festivals. The film also, I don't remember if it was fully done. People
Mm.
I heard and I've been told that your film doesn't need to be fully complete to submit into the festival circuit. I would say based on my experience, get it to as close to complete as possible because
Mm.
again, it costs money. I would rather wait until the film is at a good place for people to see and they understand
Mhm.
that to have to waste money and then resubmit to festivals with my film.
Is that part of why you shortened it?
Yeah, that's why I shortened it because I didn't get 10
Yeah.
in festivals. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So we shortened the film to 16 minutes. And honestly, again, with like the people that I came across, I ended up getting into this like directors program and met some other like really
Mhm.
cool, prolific directors. And through all of those things, kind of strengthened my vision for the film and what we were trying to like emote. So it helped with cutting it down to 16 minutes. So it's
Yep.
a much stronger film with
Okay. Yep.
with it being cut down. So it was for the betterment. So I'm happy that I did that.
She were you like, "I don't wanna cut it down." Was it difficult, like, knowing what to cut?
It was more so because I was just tired of the film. I feel like, again, I've been
Okay.
working on the film since 2021, so it the no, the whole, like, labor of love, I'm not in the
Yeah.
love section of this film. from
Oh.
2023 to now till like this summer,
Yeah.
it was a lot of labor, and it was just like, I just want this film to be done. I'm
Mhm.
coming out of pocket, so it's costing me a
Mhm.
lot of money to do for these like learning lessons or whatever else have you. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm lucky that got some grants to help finish the film to cut it down to 16 minutes. Because at that time I also lost my job, so it was just like,
Oh my god.
even
The more things.
cut this film
No
down.
more things.
Right. It's like no more things. How much more can we fix? So it was just a lot of like, okay, like figuring out logistically how we were gonna cut it down. And then
Mhm.
creatively, um, I'm grateful that I have a great community of people. So I actually, even throughout the 20-minute film, sent the film out to people whose opinions I trust to give feedback
Okay.
on the film to cut it down. So when we were
I was
in
gonna
that
say
stage. Oh, go
mm.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, you as a professional, like, image maker, filmmaker, needing to take a minute to, like, step away from what you've created to be able to look at it or have other people look at it, like, the thing that makes me curious about that process is I'm nowhere near anything like that. The closest I come is like, "Oh, I have to put out 3 reels for this thing," and I can't look at it after, like, 2 days, Raven. I'm like, "I can't watch this anymore. You can't
Yeah.
edit this anymore." And sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll send it and be like, "Hey, can you just look at this?" And you know what, whatever I think. That is micro. So, like,
Yeah.
as a filmmaker, I would imagine that you have a process where you have to step away from it for a minute or with all the love that you have with that labor part and just like let it breathe and then come back and look at it. I don't know. Does that apply for your process or not really?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think if you have
Mhm.
the luxury of I get 2 luxuries. You have the luxury of time and money,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
typically, and what did happen with this film, and it's something that I think every filmmaker and artist has experienced, when you bring on a team, no one's gonna be dedicated to your project as much as you. And even if you're paying people, this is still, indie low budget film, even though we did receive grants and we did crowdfunding and I paid out of pocket. So I'm
Mhm.
not able to pay people their actual day rates for
Uh-huh.
this project to edit something. So it's like
Mhm.
sometimes I don't even have the luxury to step away because I know this editor is only on this project until the end of the month. So I have to look
Yeah.
at the edits. And that was
Yeah.
very like exhausting and required a lot of, and I hated this word for a very long time while I was making this film, but it required a lot of resilience of like, all right,
Mm.
you gotta find a solution, you gotta bounce back up, you gotta
Gotta do that.
remotivate people, it's
Yeah.
exhausting because it's like no one's gonna care. And that's also part of
And you're the leader. You're the leader on the
exactly,
project. So you've got to keep
exactly.
people inspired and you've got to keep that fire going. Makes complete
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely it is tough. And sometimes again, when you're working with people on a lower budget, they don't prioritize your film. So it's like sometimes you're
Yep.
waiting really long for an edit, but
Mhm.
you can't kind of like bark at them because it's like, well, you are kind of doing your favorite. So
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
like follow up with a level of patience, but like sternness.
Mhm,
I had to like
mhm.
find that balance a lot with this film. It's like, yo, like we need to move things along, but I also understand that she have a full-time job, but also we need to meet this along. So
The harmony of the harmony of that, yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Um, so then, if you are looking for distribution specifically, there's a few ways outside of the festival circuit that you can consider. Independent distribution, so posting your film online yourself, you have the most creative freedom with this, but it does require the most marketing efforts. You have to
Mhm,
promote your film a lot. You have to do all the things to get it out there and find unique and creative ways. We know that the internet and social media is currently like very oversaturated. So it's like really, really
yeah.
thinking strategically about like how can you get your film viewed and build a community. It's not just I think about, and that's something that
Mhm,
I know due to just like my corporate background, like working in the media and advertising industry, like the value of building a community. And once you have an established community, they're going to support whatever you put out. Whether it is a film, whether it's a photo shoot, whether it's an event, they will show up and
Mhm.
support you. And that's what
Mhm.
helped me with my film because we raised almost $16,000 for this film. And that's purely on the
Yes.
like community. Um,
Yes.
so that's just something that I was
That's
that's
beautiful.
beautiful in a filmmaker. Thank you. Thank you.
That's
That was also a
beautiful.
lot of work. I didn't go into the fundraising process, but the fundraising process was a
Ah,
big learning lesson. I'm glad I went through it, but it was
yeah.
definitely a hustle.
Mhm.
Um, then we have non-streaming platforms, so like Announce, Vimeo Staff Picks, Director's Library. I think this is a happy medium because if you are on these platforms, especially if you get like a Vimeo Staff Picks, it does put you on a
Mhm.
certain caliber with other directors versus if you just put on
Oh.
YouTube, TikTok. Obviously, like everyone's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, so it doesn't hit you with the like if you want a certain level of prestige. Um,
Mhm.
as compared to a noun as Vimeo Staff Pick Director's Library because it's submission based. So they do have a curation. And
Yeah.
obviously a lot of the films and work that's on those platforms are incredible works, incredible films.
Mhm.
I also
Mhm.
recommend, again, going back to the research portion of things, not only watch like films are done by major studios and on the Hollywood sphere, but like these other platforms now this Vimeo Staff Pick Director's Library has and Criterion, all these other like more indie platforms have
Yeah.
incredible films that will help just add just like a different perspective to what you're making. Um, this will require some marketing efforts. These platforms do typically post, but they're not pushing your film as much as if you did it yourself. So we'll definitely have to
Okay.
do some marketing on your own here. But most likely they'll post like something on like their Instagram feed or whatever else have you. And then
Yeah.
this will require some networking or relationship building. So like connecting with the people at Nowness and Vimeo Stat Picks and just like just going a little bit above and beyond, not just only submitting and just turning a blind eye. Like you want to build relationships with these people even beforehand. Like if again, going back to the goals, if you know upfront that you don't want to do the festival circuit, but you want distribution and you have your list of
Mhm.
non-streaming platforms, start having coffee with these people. Start letting them
I
know
was
you are.
gonna say, how did that work for you? Like that path of networking? Were you like, I know what people are gonna be, so I'm gonna just put myself out there? Like, what was your process?
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't do this as strong, so this is like a learning lesson, but I think
Yeah.
what did help is that I one did have a lot of conversations with different people just to like learn about like the festival circuit, distribution, whatever else have you. And I had conversation with people who were Caribbean filmmakers or who were
Mhm.
filmmakers of the diaspora. So they had like a more emotional and like cultural connection to what I was trying to do. So therefore after we had that conversation, wanted to continue to support me. So
Mhm.
that was helpful, and I will say my corporate background working in the media industry has helped me a lot because I know who
Yeah.
some people on the inside who can give me
Mhm.
advice, connect me with production companies or directors or whatever else have you, and like kind of add to my quote unquote credibility.
Yeah.
If they see, oh, you worked at like Meta or you work at Complex or you worked
Mhm.
at Blavity, like that kind of
Mhm.
does help. Um, and then, thirdly is streaming platforms. So whether you're thinking about like a Netflix, Hulu, Criterion, HBO Max, this
Mhm.
is relationship based or submission based. This one you're going to definitely need strong relationships for sure because
Yeah.
everybody's trying to get on these platforms. And
Mhm.
usually these like distribution deals sometimes happen upfront. So like sometimes what this is one of the strategies we were trying to do, but just didn't have the bandwidth from myself
Mhm.
nor my team um,
Yeah.
or the capabilities to do so. But like one thing we were trying to do was like reach out to production companies that
Mhm.
support Caribbean storytelling or just like Pan
Mhm.
African storytelling who already have relationships with these platforms, who may have like a first look deal with a Netflix or a Hulu, so that that production company would then produce the film and then they would bring the film to those distribution platforms. So that is a
Mhm.
route again requires relationships. Um, it requires, like, knowing how to pitch also really well because you would have to be able to that treatment deck that I talked about, you're presenting that treatment to these production companies or these streaming platforms, and you're on these calls, you're meeting them with in person, and you're speaking about
Yeah.
and you're pitching your film. So it's, like, knowing how to also be a good salesperson, and know how to,
All
like,
the
get
hats.
people
My
passionate.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You
wow.
have to get
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
passionate about this stuff that you wanna
Yeah.
make because you believe it, but you gotta get other people to believe in it so they can put their coins and their dollars behind it. Um, and then, again, from the submission perspective, there are services like Bitmax that, like, they do all of that, submission work for you. It does cost money, so that goes back to, like, figuring out your goals and how much
Yeah.
money you need to get these things, done. Like, for example, like, I know Tubi and, like, Amazon Prime, like,
Mhm.
those you can submit your film to Amazon Prime, like, you don't necessarily need to go
Yeah.
through, like, a whole like, for example, like Netflix, I don't believe you
Mhm.
can just submit to Netflix.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Amazon Prime and Tubi, you can submit to. It does require work, so it's like, do you have the bandwidth? If not, and do you have the bandwidth and do you know what you're doing? If you do not know
Yeah.
what you're doing and don't have the bandwidth, then I am
That
a
might not
person
be the
that's like,
move.
yeah, delegate it, outsource it, and figure out
Yeah.
the budget.
Yeah.
Um so, yeah, so and then going back, just highlighting this pro tip on top here, just, like, being realistic about you and your team's bandwidth would also
Mhm.
help you, 1, not have a headache. I feel like I was, like, stressed out and, like, you're kind of like, "Why aren't people doing what I need them to do?" But it's also, like, because people don't have the bandwidth. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
to be realistic
Yeah.
about your bandwidth and your team's bandwidth to know which one of these can you even actually do. Like, if you wanna do independent distribution because you wanna have the most creative freedom and you wanna, you believe that that's gonna help you build your career as a director, cool,
Mhm.
but that is gonna require the a lot of bandwidth. Does your
Yeah.
team have bandwidth? Are you able to post content that often? Do you understand how social media works? Like,
Yeah.
and if not, do you have the budget to hire an expert? Um,
Mhm. You
it's
gotta
just
have the strategy that matches your yeah, yeah, your capacity, I guess, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said.
Mhm.
And I think this is the last side, marketing. So again, I come from a media and advertising background, so I understand the value of marketing. So if you go on like She Island's Instagram page, like one of my really close friends is an art director. So I'm very big on like the visual output and looking at the film as part of a brand. So what is like I even have a whole deck on like the brand identity of the film. What are our graphics?
Mhm.
How do we use certain graphics? What's our color
Mhm.
palette? What are our templates? Like getting that especially if you do the first one where you're putting the film out yourself and not going through like a different platform, you really, really want to think about your film as a brand and world building so that you can create these
Mhm.
marketing assets and create first a strategy. What is your like marketing strategy? And then creating like
Mhm.
the assets that help support your strategy so that your all the touch points that your film that people come across for your film feels coherent to your brand.
Yeah.
But like as we
I
know,
love the world building. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I can't see you because 'cause I'm screened, so if you have a question, just shout it out because I can't see. Um,
Okay, okay.
yeah, but, you can feel free to interrupt me. Um, but yeah, yeah, so, like, we know, like, the industry is changing, as we mentioned earlier, the who's buying who, the monopolies that are
Mhm.
happening, things are just changing really rapidly.
Mhm.
Um, but the benefit is that independent creatives, independent filmmakers have more power in their hands because of social media and just,
Mhm.
um, democratizing just, like, the way in which we're able to put our work out there.
Yeah.
So remembering that everything ladders back up to your goals, so depending on what your
Mhm.
goals are will impact your marketing efforts. So again, if you do the independent route, you're gonna have to have a lot more marketing um, behind that.
Yeah.
Independent filmmakers have been able to build a name for themselves and their films via social media. So
Yeah.
again, marketing strategy, like how can you even if you do the other routes, let's say you go through like a Netflix and you get on or you get into a film festival that gets you on HBO Max, like if
Mhm.
your film's on HBO, you have to think about like also like the user experience. If I watch a film, right, and I love the film, most likely I'm gonna look into who the director was. That's usually the next
Oh,
step.
for sure.
People
Yeah.
type up
Yeah.
the director. Most likely the first thing that's gonna pop up is your Instagram or your website.
Yeah.
Like
That is across industries, by the way, like, that is everyone across industries. It's like, do you have something that speaks for yourself? And people wanna see because people wanna see your real life, or they wanna see, like, how can I connect with them on another what can I find from them? So having that profile, having that, like, accessible yeah, that's everything, and
yeah,
that's everybody.
yeah, every creative, every
Yeah.
person, like
Mhm.
we're at a time in society that like personal branding is everything, and I know for
Mhm.
creatives and people that is like, they hate that. They hate
Yeah.
the idea of being a brand, they hate but I
Mhm.
think be also being realistic on where you see your creative career being. If you want to monetize off your
Yeah.
creativity, like, you want this to be your bread and butter, this is how you live, you're gonna have to understand that it's a business. It's not just, like,
Yeah.
play. Like, it is gonna be a
Yeah.
business. Part of the business is the brand.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm sure I know you know
It's
since you have
tough.
yeah, you have your
That
own brand.
it's a conversation that I have with artists all the time, right? Like I in some of the like coaching sessions and stuff that I do because there's such a artists feel such a philosophical, being at odds to feeling like a product or a brand or like and that's a very real
Yeah.
feeling and a very real reality. And it is hard to find the balance sometimes, even between like an artist and then a content creator. And people want to be like, I'll throw up before I'm ever a content creator. And I'm like, I feel you and I hear that and I get it. But yeah, becoming the brand is like it is integral, but it's okay to sometimes viewing it separately to helps you to cope or create an understanding of like, okay, I can be my artist, but I do have to learn how to create a brand for myself. And I don't know people have different ways of coping with that, but
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a
and
learning
it
curve.
is tough, and to your point, really, like, philosophical, and I kinda feel like, again, like, if you know that you wanna be a artist that is getting commissioned for things, getting your work
Mhm,
on, I don't know, at the MoMA and get, like, that type of, like, exposure, then
yeah.
yes, brand building is important, but if you're just an artist that, like, you're creating art for yourself, you're creating art for your friends,
Mhm.
then you don't really need to. So it
Yeah.
all just depends on, like, the level of, I guess, commercialization that you wanna have with
Yeah.
your work, the level of,
Mhm,
like, income you wanna bring in with your work.
mhm.
That's gonna determine, like, if you need to go about looking at yourself and your work as a brand. So even if
Yep.
you don't do something for yourself, I think definitely making sure your film has a platform, so creating a separate page for your film,
Yeah. Yeah.
is gonna be beneficial.
Yep.
Um, then as you're developing, like, your marketing strategy, think about who your target audience is. So this is gonna
Mhm,
impact, like, the type of content that you do create so that you can best, create stuff for your community. So who's your target audience? Where do they spend their time? What are they interested
mhm,
in? How can you best serve them? And I think that even that last question is really important because then you can angle the content that you make to best serve your audience. So if your audience are people like just thinking like, okay, you know that your audience is die-hard filmmakers, like, or
mhm.
maybe like cinephiles, and not even filmmakers, cinephiles. So these could just be people who just
Yeah.
love to watch film, right?
Yep.
Then maybe the way that you best serve them is like introducing them to like unique films, like films that's never before
Mm.
seen that fit in
Mhm,
the same realm as the film that you're making. So that your film and the
mhm.
films that you're exposing people to are in conversation. So then you build an
Yeah.
audience
Ooh, I
of like
like
cinephiles
that.
who love these types of films and they're exposed to your film and they love your film too.
Mhm,
So now they're promoting your
mhm,
film and your
mhm.
brand. So just like
Beautiful.
thinking about how you can like best serve people through the content that you're making. It shouldn't just be like
Mm,
self-promoting because people,
mhm.
can only engage with self-promotion only so much.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like some of this is a little bit redundant. And then like your support coming from your community. I think I mentioned that before. Like do not neglect your
Mhm,
community. Everything is about
mhm,
community building is not just like transactional, again, self-promotion. Like we don't want it to feel that way. And just like
yeah.
understanding that, marketing is an extension of your film. So going back to the budget, like I did include marketing efforts into my budget for my film. I did include
Mhm,
like knowing that, okay, I'm gonna make these flyers, I'm gonna create these like branding assets, these social templates, like that was all um part of like the world building that I'm creating for my film. So thinking about how can your messaging and your purpose and your story live beyond the film itself. And that does not just mean
mhm,
social media. Like that can mean events. Like what are unique
mhm,
things in which you're doing in real life that's like
mhm,
an extension of your film. What is even products? Like we are like also planning on doing merch. What are products that are an extension of your film that people
mhm.
can like support and dive into and feel like they're part of whatever the world, of your film is. So again, marketing is not just social media, and because we also are in the age of AI, where we don't know what online is real or not, people are also yearning more for like in real life
We
connection.
yearn for the physical. We
Yeah, we're
yearn
yearning
for the
yeah.
analog. The people are yearning for, like, how do I connect this to something real life? So even having your film, it is just making me think too, like, the in-person conversations that can be had around the film, like those all the kinds of things that we really do crave, dinners or the gatherings or the whatever, those physical things that they're grounding. And I think as increasingly our lives become more and more digital, it's still something that's like so deep within us. It's the most human core thing that we have, which is like that need to connect with each other and the need for the physical to really ground us
Yeah.
so we can like, explore these stories in a way that's just like, I don't know, concrete in some ways. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember learning about the film Dark of the Dust, which is one of another like inspirational film and visual reference that we use for She Island. And I believe I read that Julie Dash, like, so if I'm remembering this stat correctly, she's the first Black woman to have a theatrical release for a film. And she, I believe, did a fashion show to help market and promote the
Love
film. So
that.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, there are so many different ways to market that's beyond social media. So it's really understanding what is your world, what is your target audience, how can you serve them, and then thinking about all the marketing touch points, whether it's, again, social media, whether it's just substats, whether it's events, whether it's company screenings, whether it's like merch, whatever there's, all these different ways in which you can market your film uh, that will create unique, memorable experiences for your audience, which I think is also really important too. Um, so pro tip here, if marketing is not your strong suit, build a budget so you can hire an expert because great readers dedicate. And the
Yes.
filmmakers, some for PR,
Yes.
too many pots. And usually because the budget is low, we take on way too much. Try to delegate.
Beautiful.
So,
Well said.
and yeah, that is
Beautiful.
all I wanted to kind of share. Yeah.
That was honestly such a masterclass in building your film step by step and just this way that I feel like I don't know. I feel like this can be such a beautiful resource for people who are just kind of getting into this area or even who are already in it, but looking for mm, not necessarily somebody to hold their hand through it, but yeah, a little bit, to be like, how can I get through this in a way that I'm not, grasping at straws or kind of wandering through the dark? This was really beautiful, Raven. Like, thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
this. Like,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I feel like sometimes, like, I don't know, I have like a love-hate relationship with panels because sometimes he goes to panels and they're like, just work hard and like just be yourself. But it's like people need tangible tips, tangible information on like when they can take away that they can like action on. So I try as much as I can to like give that to people because I know that's like something that I crave.
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
100%. I think the conversations between artists, is so valuable way that w we know this, like, in community because we know how much we can learn from network and how much we can, grow from those conversations. Yeah, I'm just grateful for your time. Thank you so much for sharing, walking us through She Island, walking us through that beautiful deck that you created that just kinda gave the set a step. I'm really excited for people to rewatch, like, your film, see it for the first time, like, kind of, I don't know, really experience it, and then to also have, this one-on-one kind of interview experience where they can ask their questions and just kind of hear from you in this really special way. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So yeah, no, I definitely get to the supported some Courtney is an artist and fact that, get showing sister and myself. So there's like a different level of connection that we have. Beautiful. Um, And yeah, we were planning on doing our own curated screenings again as part of the
Mhm.
world that we're building, and we're gonna for these screenings be including other Caribbean women this film by exploring Caribbean womanhood
Mhm.
themselves. So that's something to look out for next year. Yeah, we're just
Okay.
excited to like continue just bringing the film to different people, um, and expanding on like the different phases that happen in the film. Because for us, the film is like the first deliverable, and now we're ready for the other things,
Yes.
whether it's merch, whether again the curated screenings, the traveling exhibition,
Mhm.
lots of planned attention. So
Wow, amazing. Well, congrats, Raven. Thank you for taking the time to tell me today about your story and Sheet Island, and please enjoy Trinidad for me.
thank you. I will.
Of course. I hope you have a really great rest of your day, and I'll talk with you soon.
All right, you too.
Bye.